Welcome to another Into the West battle report. Today we have 550 points to the death. Bjornings versus the Misty Mountains. This was actually when the Bjornings Legendary Legion just came out. It's taken a while for us to get this battle report out. So just a caveat, at the time, everyone was talking about it and there was a lot of controversy whether this Legion was actually good or not. Ian, what do you think about this matchup between me and Charles? Some interesting armies being taken and also the scenario.
Yeah, Misty Mountains versus Bjornings. It's an interesting matchup, Misty Mountains also obviously has a ton of big monsters, but so do the Bjornings. And unfortunately for the birds, the bears are just that little bit bigger and a little bit scarier. The fact that there's only two of them, though, versus all the eagles, that makes a difference. But I think if the bears can use the Bjornings to kind of isolate the eagles and then just get one bear fighting one eagle, they can quite reasonably flash kill an eagle every turn if they get the charge off. Not to mention the fact that the bears usually are a low might army, and in this situation they're going to have twice the amount of might. So I think it's a scary matchup for the eagles. If they can skirmish well and get a good first turn charge off, it might be enough to swing the game. But once the lines clash and get engaged, I think it kind of swings to the Bears' favor.
All right. And before we get started, shout out to our Patreons. Thank you for supporting us. If you guys haven't checked out our extra perks, you can see the description below. Yeah, other than that, let's get into it. Okay. Bears versus Eagles. This is like a National Geographic episode of MESBG. I think this will be an interesting matchup. I got the numbers. I've heard a lot that Bears are quite strong, so let's see how it goes. Go Bears!
So my list is simple. Gwahir and 4 Great Eagles. This is going to be a bloody matchup. I just have to kill 5 models in order to break him. Obviously, I'm going to go for the Bjorn. We'll just have to see how it goes. I'm hoping that my brutal power attacks and my monster charge will carry me to victory.
Normally I would say the side that has more bows in the scenario has the advantage because you set up so far away, but they only have 4 bows. They need 6s to wound, so it doesn't really matter. You eat my words in like a minute.
We see their starting positions here and their deployment. Not much of a battle line on each side. I think it's just going to be a straight brawl.
So I think early on in the game, it's pretty straightforward for the Eagles since the Bjornings have the bows. They've just got to move full speed and get into combat as soon as possible.
All right, let's get into turn 1. The Bears win priority. That's usually not a good thing early on in the game. So the Eagles get to see what the Bears want to do. See just a slight adjustment of models. And Bjorn becoming a bear right away.
I think, he's in the Legendary Legion. Does he still have to charge if he's able to do so?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. He still has that rule.
Okay. Not necessarily a bad thing in this matchup because he wants to be fighting Eagles anyway. If they lose priority and the Eagles can kind of be finagly with it, maybe they could use it to their advantage, but it's not very cut and dry right now.
Yeah, I think right now is kind of the question of how long does Grimbjorn stay in human form, because he does have that great bow shot as well. And you see here the Eagles are staying outside 10, so they're within charge range, but Bjorn cannot charge. All right, shooting phase, here we go. Ian, you jinxed it.
As soon as I said it's not going to matter, I knew I made a mistake.
So Gwahir just burns a fate here. No biggie.
The strength 4 bows are actually pretty deadly in this case. All of the Eagles are defense 8, or they just need straight 6s to wound, and that's kind of scary.
Again, the Bears win priority, so the Eagles can kind of dictate and react to what the Bjornings do.
You see them just kind of moving back a little bit towards the board edge.
This is the Ian style of play here.
Ian maneuver.
I mean, it makes sense. They don't want to take a bad charge from the Eagles in this situation, right? It'll be interesting to see what Grimbear does if he decides to transform this turn or not. But ideally, the Bears will get a turn where they lose priority, can see what the Eagles do, and then can move up to force a heroic move off next turn. There we go. He does the bear. Yeah, that's probably the safer move. If he gets caught out while he's still in man form against Eagle, it's not a favorable matchup for him.
Well, now that we know the Eagles can't get into combat this turn, they're kind of moving up again to sort of a similar position as last turn.
I'm surprised Guahir is still bravely in the front lines, tempting fate.
Here we go.
Ian, what did you do?
Oh man, come on.
That's,
Oh, he failed both the fate.
that's leader VPs right there.
Oh, that is brutal.
I think my thought process was just that it wouldn't happen twice, you know, like Richard already rolled so well in one shoot phase, it can't happen again. And it did.
I mean, you'd expect that maybe if Grimbeorn was firing, because he can throw might at it, but considering he was a bear that turn, like, yeah, that's pretty, you wouldn't expect that. They can only go back so far. They are going into the corner, so hopefully Guahir doesn't get wounded again this turn, but we'll see what happens. Well, I like the move of the Beorning slipping into the forest. So if an eagle tries to charge him, it won't get the charge bonus.
Yeah, I think Richard anticipates the Bjornings being the main target because they're far easier to kill than either of the bears. So that's going to be the Eagles' way to achieve the objective, right? To get the Bjornings under 50%.
Finally, it seems like Charles has learned his lesson and put some eagles in front of Guahir.
Okay, finally the birds go unharmed.
But it seems like single Bjorning is too much for a charging eagle.
So the eagle lost the fight against the Bjorning, and the Bjorning caused a wound.
Turn 4. And the Eagles finally win priority.
It's an important one.
Time to finally get in.
Do you guys think that the Bears should have called a heroic move here?
I don't think so, because it doesn't look like either of the bears could get into charge into the eagles, right? So at least this way they have a chance to react with whatever models are not engaged.
I'm surprised Guahir goes straight into Grimbjorn. I would think that Guahir would try to pick off some Bjornings on the side first.
So I was just going to say Guahir should be careful here and only fight Beornings because he's down to 2 wounds, no fate. But at least the bear doesn't have the charge bonus right now. That's nice.
I guess you don't know Charles then.
I think my thinking was that Guahir outfights Grimbjorn, and that would kind of bait him to use some more resources.
Time to get into combat. Secure a combat by Bjorn. And then Grimbjorn strikes up, and Guahir does a heroic defense, which makes sense, I think, from all parties. There goes the eagle. You would think most of the time it's hard to pull off a hero combat against an eagle, but not with Bjorn in the fight.
It isn't generally like a rough matchup for the eagles, right? Because a bear charge into an eagle can flash kill it. If an eagle gets a charge into the bear, there's not likely to flash kill it, right? They can put some wounds on it, but they're probably not going to kill it, especially with that extra 5-up save. It's going to take multiple eagles charging a bear at the same time to bring it down.
Grimbjorn striking up to 10. Gets the 6 to win the fight. But he can't get through the heroic defense. I think that was a pretty even combat.
200 points down to nothing? Yeah.
Not quite fair in the points value. Exactly 10 times the cost.
I think the heroic defense was the right move there, because if Guahir had lost that strike off, he very easily could have died.
Yeah, the Bjornings win priority, and Guahir does a heroic move instantly, which makes sense.
One of 2 of his precious points of might here. Yeah, let's see if they can get some charges off to come back in kills. We usually say that the Bjornings are low might army. Misty Mountains have half of their might.
I think some may argue that maybe the Bears should have countered Heroic here, but I think at this point, maybe it just didn't matter, and they felt like they can save the might.
If there were still 5 Eagles on the board, I think the Bears should have countered. With only 3, they don't really need to.
Typically, all of the Eagles having terror helps them mitigate them being trapped somewhat, but Bjornings have pretty decent courage, so I don't think that it was a problem for Richard here.
Yeah, and you see here, even with the Heroic move, the Bears get to countercharge.
Yeah, and then they can, even if they can't get to go here directly right now, they're getting a chance to set up a nasty hero combat.
At this point, only one Bjorning has died. The one on the left side of the board, fighting the lone eagle. So the Bjornings are way ahead in model count.
Yeah, the Eagles are just going down like KFC snacks. I guess Guajiro was trying to barge into Bjorn to see if he could get some leader points, but it seems like he wasn't able to get a high enough roll on that D6.
I have a bad feeling about him charging 2 of these guys when he's only got 2 wounds left. Oh, I called it. That is brutal. Oh, no.
Some TOs would count tabling as an instant 12-0 win, but going by the official rules, I guess, if we count, neither army had a banner, so the max was just 10-0.
Definitely our most one-sided battle report to date.
Yeah, that was brutal.
All right, and we have some post-game interviews coming up. Thanks for watching.
So, those Bears did work, huh?
The time of the bear has come.
Those Bjornings actually did the heavy lifting in that one. Like, the Bears are scary, but the Bjornings, they were much better than I thought. And to be fair, your Eagles rolled pretty bad.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you didn't even have to use a single Bjorning reroll.
No, I didn't really need it.
I've always wanted to know how this matchup would go, so now I know. I mean, maybe with better rolls, it would have been closer or a different scenario. All right, good game.
Good game.